if you can go ahead and highlight myself and highlight Miss Tara talking, Tara Atkinson. So met Tara a handful of years ago on Instagram. She is an individual that the way that she writes, the way she connects with her audience, what she does with people that she coaches, people she works for, she is a rock star in her own right. She has been through all sorts of ups and downs and different things. So let her tell pieces of that story if she'd like. But she's good at what she does. And so we've connected on a number of different projects, worked together, and always looking for more ways that we can do that because I love the way her mind works. I love what she does. So guys, I invited her back today. I wanted to have her talk with you. We wanted to get into, we're going to talk a little bit about organic growth. We're going to talk about using yourself and your story to connect with an audience. And this came up, I threw this topic at her because I had someone over the last couple of days. I know there are moments when I share my story on here. I know there are moments when I share my story in my marketing, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to let her explain it. But I had someone the other day go, I mean, I get that you share your story, but I feel like I know more about you than I do my own family. I mean, man, come on. And I kind of stopped and I went, you may not like it, but there is a reason that stuff converts. Stories sell. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about building things up and how stories can work in your favor with what you're doing. So on that note, everybody say hello to Tara. Welcome her back. Appreciate you being here, ma'am. How are you?
So much. I am good. It's good to see some familiar faces from last time I was on here. Some of you came and connected with me, and I love being able to be back here and see you in person and connect like this again. So the honor is mine to be here, and I'm hoping that once again we can create some good stuff and get you guys like really understanding the power of using your story to connect with your audience, to just really boost wherever you're going, your product, your service, your sales through your story, because it is such a powerful tool.
Yep. So does anybody have questions when we're talking about using your story to sell? Does anyone have questions what we're talking about and how that works? Now would be the time to ask, either message or drop into chat. Anybody?
I do have a question. Give me like example of your story. Like, what do you mean when you say your story? Your story of journey to start digital marketing, or your story to understand more what's going on digital marketing? So, what kind of story we are talking about here?
All right. So with this, my point of view.
Story on the niche.
Yeah. So part of this is understand, guys. You're going after. This isn't as much about your journey. It's how your journey applies to them and their niche and how it has helped you understand what they're going through so that you can, so like Dave was talking about, build up that rapport so that they know, like, and trust you. So how does my story connect with them and their trials and how it then connects to the business? Right. So there's different ways of going about that. So Tara, what do you think?
I agree exactly with what David said. It's about building the rapport. And so with specifically going into your niche, whatever it is that's that specific, what you want to focus on is building empathy, truly building empathy when your potential clients, when your followers, when anyone who's already in your world doesn't just feel like you're just preaching a story at them and telling you over and over and over again, hey, I came from, West Philadelphia, born and raised, and the playground was where I spent most of my days. When they stop hearing that it's just this repeated story and they start getting that you understand, because I was born in West Philadelphia, I understand the struggles, right? Like I know what it's like on some of those hard days. So what you're doing is you're not just telling the story. You're not just repeating your biography. You're putting it in different ways to let your audience, whoever that is, let them know, like, man, I've been in your shoes. Here's something that happened to me just yesterday, and it doesn't have to be that it's this, your autobiography. Again, like I said, it's about a story, putting your daily activities into story form. You want them to understand that we all get marketed to on a daily basis, right? And here's what makes it stand out. Scrolling through Facebook, and about the 20th ad, I started to be like, oh, I'm done with this, right? Like You're telling a story about what is going on for you. What do you empathize with your particular niche? So yes, it's a story as far as, there's you, the protagonist, there is a thing that happened, and then there's a conclusion. But it doesn't have to be that it's about your life as much as it's your empathy of putting yourself into your client's shoes. Does that make sense? Does that help kind of guide where you're going with the story, that it's not necessarily about your story, but it's a story about how you're sharing?
Yeah, and how it connects with them. So, and I was just curious because I know some people got that and some didn't. Her West Philadelphia, born and raised on the plate, right? Like some people I know got that reference, and some people it just went over their head. Fresh Prince Bel-Air.
I've heard that from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank
anyway,
you.
Yeah, I know some people got it, and I know some people are like, really? You grew up in Philly? No, it's from a TV show, guys. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're taking this and we're stepping into our niche, and we're saying, I understand what you've got going on, and I understand marketing to what you've got going on because of this. And by the way, I live a normal life, and I'm doing these things, and I'm learning these things, and I'm utilizing this in my own marketing, and this is what's happening. It humanizes yourself and the whole situation, right? Because part of what we're doing, like David said, we're building up that rapport. We want them to know, like, and trust us. In order to do that, we want to connect on a different basis, right? We've talked about, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but we've talked about Instagram stories, Facebook stories, right? And some of these things that we do daily. You guys remember from some of the Facebook training that we did recently? And if you don't, you can go back some of the videos that I did recently on Facebook and lead gen and groups. And Tara and I spoke about it as well. But so posting in your stories makes it about you, and I'm connecting with my audience, and I'm putting a face to what I'm talking about. Does that make sense, everybody? So what do you guys think are things that we want included in that story? Especially if I'm sitting here and I'm going after digital marketers, or I'm going after personal trainers, or I'm going after attorneys. What type of thing from my story would make a connection there? Does anybody have any examples? Struggle to success may be part of it, depending on who Jess, you're working with life coaches and other things. Yeah, that would be part of it. Like, I know what's going on because I've had that struggle as well to grow. Or you may be working with business owners, and I've been in that position, and I'm trying to generate my own clients. So let me show you what I've done to do that, right? What other examples do you guys have? Educational background. So Tara, so let's talk about educational background, because this I think is important. If you've got the educational background, and if you don't have it, right? Or as far as I don't have a degree, how do we stand on credibility when it comes to that kind of background? Because some people kind of have that, the imposter syndrome feeling for themselves.
I would say part of that, and hear me say this, that I have worked with very, very high level clients, at multiple millions of dollars a year. And I've worked with beginners who literally their imposter syndrome is, but I don't know who wants to hear my story. I don't know who wants to buy my product. And every single one of those people from up here to down here struggles a little bit with imposter syndrome. It is something that affects almost everyone at some point on this entrepreneurial journey. But when you're dealing with this, when you're feeling like I don't have enough expertise, I don't know exactly how to put this story, that's where doing like a brain dump or a brainstorming exercise about every single time you have succeeded at something, whether you played a huge part in that success or whether you were just a bit player, you have got to start bumping up your own, your success story is there because you're here. You're here wanting to be better. So you have some success already. So if you have the educational background and you can say, boom, 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 when I learned this in school, there's also this idea that you can learn things in the school of hard knocks, right? Which is just life. And everyone has life experiences that have a story aspect to them that will connect with someone else. No matter what you've gone through, there is always someone who connects to that story if you can learn to utilize the power of of telling your story, not just to present information, but to say, hey, I've been in your shoes and I can help you. So whatever that educational background you might think you need, what have you done in real life? That's usually the more important part of it.
Yeah. And what have you done and what do you have that will solve their problems? Really, that's what it boils down to, right? A lot of the consulting that I've done, businesses that I've worked with, the last time that I was really asked what my educational background was, where it mattered, was when I had, and you guys know this story because I've shared my story. So when I had the restoration company, and then I left it and I went and I helped build a different restoration company, and I was the marketing director and helped build it up and got it to where really at the end of that year, they didn't want to pay me my year-end bonus because it was a lot, because we had superseded their goals. And so instead of paying me, they said, well, it's just not working. What we want is someone that's got a marketing degree. And that was where he came at me. He said, if you had a marketing degree, we'd keep you. Since then, I have worked with individuals that have done hundreds of millions online. And the question was never, what is your degree? It was, what is your idea? How does it work? Oh my gosh, let's implement that, right? And it's what have I done now? What activities have I done? What systems do I have? What kind of ideas can I bring to bear that will help someone else, right? And that's what you guys are doing. So if you're working with a personal, if personal training is what you're going after, you don't have to be a licensed personal trainer. If you're going after doctors, you don't have to be someone that's graduated from medical school. You can say, I work with doctors because I understand the importance in, healthcare in our society. Anywhere in the world, it's our society, right? Modern day society, healthcare everywhere in the world needs help. Lawn care all around I know how hard you're working because I've got a friend or I'm doing this or whatever. You need customers knocking on your door. Let me show you how to make that work, right? Let me show you what I've got a system that, man, it just works so well on social media. All you need to do, let me show you how to do that. Let me solve your problem. Let me show you how you can solve your problem. And here it is. So that's how it comes up. People aren't going to say, well, I would buy this $7 book, but you didn't go to Harvard, so I don't want it. Now, my story becomes how I connect with them. Does this make sense to everybody? So how we can use our story in our marketing. Now, this doesn't mean you have to create a whole webinar about your story. What do you guys think are some elements, or Tara, what are some ways that they can present pieces of their story using Facebook, social media, Instagram, etc.? What are some ways that they can share pieces of their story so that they can start to connect? Because it's really all about your step-by-step. It doesn't have to be, let me do an emotional vomit all over you. Right. Correct.
And one of the ways that I work through some of this with my copywriting clients is that we do, like I referenced just a minute ago, like do a brain dump about it. Focus on one or two of the words that are very key in your marketing for your niche, for your ideal client. And then just dump out everything that's in your brain about what comes to mind about a time when you yourself had to deal with. So let's say that it's lawn care. And Andrew, what would be a keyword that someone in lawn care would be working on, or that would maybe be something that you want to tell a story around?
Lawn care would just be, working with employees, with other contractors, with communities, with homeowners associations, with the working in the hot sun.
Okay, so those are all some things that, you can pick one or two of those things. Hot sun, right? Like anyone who works in lawn care, from my understanding, is at some point going to be dealing with heat, with hot sun. So you write that out, and then you just start to think of any story that's happened maybe in your life, or you can tell a time around when you had to deal with the hot sun. Like, I get it. I get what your clients, your employees are going through because I've been there. Gary says maintenance. Okay, so yeah, that's another good word. You just pick a few of these keywords and just write out times when, and you can do with the 5 W's, right? Like everyone was probably taught this at some point in grammar school, where the who, what, when, where, and why. So what I do is I start with a sheet of paper. I don't have one here to example, but I write in a circle in the middle what that keyword is. And then I branch out who, what, when, where, why, how. And I just start thinking of stories that fit into each of those things. And I'm not writing the whole story out. And it starts to spark different stories that will build off of that. And you'll find that and this is not a long exercise, you guys. I'm not talking about spending a whole day on this. This is literally set a timer for 15 or 20 minutes. You will start to come up with different stories that relate to some of your keywords. And again, it might be that you were the key player in that story. It might just be a time when you saw, I remember seeing my dad doing the yard work and how it would take him all Saturday, and he would come in sweaty. And now I'm so glad that he's got a lawn service to take that off of his back. Like you'll start to find these different ways of like Andrew just said, humanizing your product, humanize your service. People don't buy the product or the service; they buy the story. They buy the ability to put themselves into, their end game, their end result. And story is what connects those things.
Yeah, and what it's going to be doing for them. So Juan saying working under the hot sun, lawn care prospect, just saw you on Facebook. But you can't pick up the call because you're working your business. Yeah, something like that, because it's a pain point for the individual. So and you notice how what she did is I listed a handful of things, and the one that she grabbed was that hot sun. Why? Because there's emotion connected to that. Exactly. Emotional connection, and then your call to action, right? It's your dad and being sweaty, emotional connection and next step, right? So the physician being able to, especially right now, where are they getting their customers and making sure that those patients are able to get through their doors, because everything is up in the air and people don't understand how I can select my doctor or this or that. So my funnel is, let me show you how to use social media to get your customers and help them understand what that next step is so that they can come in the door ready and prepared for you, right? That's what your program does for each of these businesses. And it's the same program and it's the same training. All we're doing inside that funnel is modifying little things. And the great thing about the way the human psyche work is those little modifications make it perfect for any niche. But the front end work that you do is how you connect with them. And if you can use stories to do that, you will sell. If it's all about, sales people used to think that sales were strictly about the benefits and attributes and the bottom line. And it's not. People buy oftentimes and are willing to spend more money based on some type of emotional connection, right? How many of you guys have bought something because it simply reminded you of something from your childhood? Right? You paid for things. And I've never bought anything that has anything to do with my childhood or memories that, guys, it's not just about the benefits and attributes. As beneficial as this can be, how do those benefits help that business owner? That's where the stories come in. And if you can find a way to insert yourself into it, this is where you start to get creative. This is where your brain needs to start to expand at what's possible. Aga was saying a minute ago with her stories on Instagram, she had bought some chocolates. The ones that got the most, the most likes, the most connected were the ones where she was being shown eating, not just the pretty picture, right? Because anyone can post a pretty picture, but the humanization of I'm eating this too, right? I'm reading this too. I'm doing this as well. Right.
I got the chocolates of my friend who used to work in a Michelin restaurant, and he makes, oh my God, incredible ones. And anybody who knows me, especially on Instagram, knows that I'm very fussy about food. So when they saw me genuinely making happy squinty face, click, 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 click. This is what worked. Not the one I was describing the flavors, the ones that I was because I wasn't pretending. And this is not a whole long story. They didn't really care about Harley working there and there. They cared about me being oh my God, and not OTT. I was genuinely just, that was story doesn't have to be your whole life story.
Right.
Yeah.
One moment.
Exactly.
So how do we then grab this, guys? Quick little video post. Maybe it's you talking. Maybe you get someone on Fiverr to put together a few images that, and with either text or a voiceover that explains what this story is, right? Like the dad, I'm sure they could find somebody that's sweaty, a little video clip, somebody pushing a lawnmower, lawn care guy coming up. Wouldn't you love to have more customers like this, struggling to get them from there to your book, right? You could put together a video ad like that. You could write that story out. You could use your Facebook stories. So again, because some of you are a little bit new, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, at the top of your Facebook, when you log in to your Facebook app, right along the top here, you have stories, and these are little videos of something that's going on, right? Using those stories is a great way to connect because it's the first thing that people see. See one of my first ones? Does this one look familiar here? Right? So Terry uses, there you go, in the snow. I don't know how you deal with that crap. Anyway, but
more. That's very showing. And it's sparkly snow.
So my point is she uses her stories to connect with her audience and get them engaged, right? It's a great way to do that. So start to learn from those that are doing. Go to Blake's, see what he's doing. Go to Darren's and see what he's doing. Darren uses stories all the time. Figure out ways to connect with your audience. Those are simple things that everybody can do, right? And
it's about sharing your life in stories. Stories isn't necessarily about boom, 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 boom. Here's my product, always in your face. Sell, 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 sell. It's about, like Aga just said, got these chocolates. They were great. I loved it. And it's about just these minor connections. I'm constantly, people who know me know that if there's something about Nutella, if there's something about McDonald's holiday pies that only come out in the December time, or Shamrock Shakes from McDonald's, or like Andrew's pointed out at the beginning of this thing, Starbucks. Now, I cheated a little bit yesterday and ran on some Dunkin', but those are things that start to make me. So people, when they see other things, they'll connect. They'll be like, oh my gosh, what'd you get from Starbucks today? Did you change it up? And it's about now I'm a human, right? So when people are buying my products, my services, they know what they're going to get. They know that I'm not just this automaton on the other line who's going to just, okay, where's your credit card number? Okay, here's your next invoice. Okay, me. They know that I'm a person who cares, that I have real, tastes and desires and stuff. Exactly, David. You're not buying from a bot. You're buying from a human. And it's human to human connection. And that's where the stories figure it out. So one way, just real quick, that I wanted to share with you guys, I worked with functional medicine provider. Her products were all about, these supplements and this service and this product. And when she started working with me, and I said, okay, but what are you doing for people? What's the story that you're sharing? How are you connecting your services to your clients? When we started to tell the stories of, this individual came in and they were broken and they were, were at their wits' end. Doctors had been telling them blah, 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 blah. And we were able to work through, this doctor was able to work through, her lab work and stuff. And now she's a happy mother. She had been stuck in infertility. Now she has a baby. That's a story that sells. And so it's, how can you find those stories? But again, we had to go through a lot of that brain dumping exercise to break it down. And now she shares more of those stories instead of just buy my products, buy my services. I'm a functional medicine provider, come in my door. So it is about finding the connection to the humanity that can really.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
I guess for Tara and for Andrew. I totally buy into the idea around developing a connection. And so I have a two-part question. One is, do you do it through video or text? And part two is, where in the funnel do you place it?
Okay, so the answer to the first question is yes to both. Video, text, pictures, all of it. right? However you can connect, right? Start with where you're more comfortable. And what we're talking about is front of your funnel. This isn't, I'm not placing this inside the funnel because the funnel's done. The funnel's built. You don't have to, some people are wanting to redo the funnel. You don't have to do that. Blake has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this funnel where it works. And we know it works. So you don't need to do that. We're talking about front end. This is connecting with my leads so that my offer makes sense to them. This is so that they know what I've got connects with their business, so that I understand their niche, so they connect with me. People buy from who they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
So these are my ads. This is my content on my page. This is my connection with them. All of these things as I start to build an audience. So some of the stuff, now I'm going to say this because I've said it on a lot of different places. The stuff that we're talking about here helps your organic, helps increase your conversion with ads. It helps with a number of different things. If you never want to do any of this content, that's your call. You can run 100% with ads and roll with it. If that's how you want to run your business, absolutely, you can do that. We're giving you additional ways that you can generate leads, that you can build an audience. Some people don't buy right away. Some people take time before they say, you know what, yeah, this person's real. You know what, I will spend some money with Tara. I've come to know her over these months. Yeah, I'm going to do that, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm laying a foundation so that I can start stacking my sales, because some people I'm going to bring into that loop where they like my page now in February. They may not buy from me in June, but if I don't keep in front of them in some way or another, there's a chance I never get that sale, right? I've had sales that have come in 6 years, a year later, simply because content was always out there. So that's part of what we're talking about with this, right? Now to go to this kind of flows into what Trita or Hartley, does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Trita, the question was, have any introverts made money online? Yeah, absolutely. Right? You don't have to be in front of people necessarily. You can write. Many introverts are great at writing. You can connect with people through copy. You could share a picture. You could share that, hey, I'm not great at putting myself out there, but here you go. I find myself, I am what I call I'm an introvert, but a situational extrovert. As much as I enjoy these or getting in front of audiences, I'll do that. But outside of that, like, I don't really hang out with, I don't want to hang out with most people. I'm not going to parties and socializing, and like, that's not me, It's just not.
I think too, introvert implies almost more that you're shy. You're just not very energetic. And that can be sometimes a misnomer. Introverts are technically people who gain energy, who get energy back by withdrawing from being, around a lot of people. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have energy. So it's about learning and utilizing, where does your energy come out the most? For me, during one of my most introverted time periods was when my daughter was in and out of the hospital, more in than out. And yet I was sharing our story online, and my audience was just growing during a time when I was my most introverted. I wasn't making videos. I wasn't, trying to do Instagram stories. It was just me pouring my heart out onto my blog, and people were attracted to that because I was sharing what we were going through, and it was a very human experience. So don't feel like, yes, I will 100% say yes, introverts can be successful. I believe that, I know it, and I believe it for you. It's about utilizing your energy in the best way and knowing that, that in itself could be a very niche topic. You might be talking to introverted service providers, to introverted, whoever is your funnel geared towards. So being open and authentic with the fact that, hey, I'm an introvert. I don't really like to make videos, so I'm not going to make a ton of them. I'm going to tell you what I'm going through. I'm going to tell you how I've learned to move through my introvertedness or times when I don't have energy and I'm still making money. That is a huge niche. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here, guys.
Question about experiences, because I love how, Tara, you're talking about the experience that made you connect to many people. I had an experience that generally pretty sellable. I went through one of the popular surgeries recently. However, in Ireland now everybody's like about COVID. So can I share my experience with a time delay? Is it still good to make connection? Because it kind of almost feels like all the lives I planned, I had to back off because people would go hysteric and that could damage my brand. But can you still use them to get connected and make it serious?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think just about any story can connect as long as you're not coming off, arrogant and agate. You're not. I think a lot of people. Here's the thing: people that are if I post something that's not COVID and someone's upset, I think the majority of the population of the planet understands the dangers, understands what's there, understands what's going on. We all get it. We know what's happening, but there's a sense of COVID fatigue. So I don't need you to post about it. You don't have to tell me about it because everybody else is. So if just about anything at this point, almost anybody that I was following or anywhere that I was looking, if they're still talking about COVID, I'm like, I don't need you to talk about it anymore. I'm done. I'm done with it. Like, I know what's going on. I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to stay away from who I need to stay away from. I get it. I don't need you to tell me about it on social media. Right. So
it's more about postponing the time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But you think about it. Think about times when you've heard a story from someone, and it's maybe like, man, back when I was 15. I'll tell you, when I was 15, we didn't have cell phones. Even when I started my business in 2002, we didn't have cell phones. We had MySpace and fax machines. So I can tell a story about starting my business in a way, and I had a baby literally clinging to my hip while I'm trying to do conference calls, right? That's still a very realistic experience. And it happened 18 years ago, almost 19 now. So,
I mean, she started way back when cellular phones were like bricks, when they were just mounted in cars.
It was like this big.
Actually,
all of that to say that
really 84 years old.
Come on, I'm not that much older than you.
No, I know she's my age. I'm just playing, but share those. Yeah, I mean, talk about all of it. People will connect with you. And here's the thing, guys, understand. Not everyone's going to connect with you. Not everyone's going to like you. I know some people on these calls don't, and that's okay. Like, I'm not here to make every single person happy. I'm here to connect with a handful of people that are going to get something from it and make it happen, right? And you're going to be the same way. You will have somebody, and that's why sometimes people are like, well, is the market is that niche super saturated? I don't know. Tara and I can talk to the exact same group of people, and some people are going to go, I just want to listen to her. Some are going to listen to me, and some will buy both. And that's okay too, right? Just get out there and do it. And say, okay, so what is their problem and how can I create something about myself, my story? How can I connect with my audience? What can I do to connect? If you figure that out, you'll be better than 90% of the marketers out there, because too many of them just go, let me tell you how great my product is.
Yes. Or look at me in front of my Ferrari.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy everything I'm selling? I have a Ferrari.
I think you saw the one slide that she helped me write an ebook. Terry did. I talk all the time about outsourcing, guys, right? Like, I wrote a bunch and then I'm like, here, Terry, make this pretty, right? Like, outsource stuff to people that are great at it. But she saw, so a buddy of mine and I, we had a webinar we put together. And so we put our faces on some of those ads where people had like the Lamborghini. So, and my buddy, his name is Brock, and he's an African-American gentleman with long dreads, like long, impressive dreads. So it was his face on this, white dude's body in front of his Ferrari, and it's my face on top of this large guy with a lot of hairy arms in front of his jet. And we're going, yeah, this is ours, right? The point is create the story about who you are, and you end up connecting with an audience. Right? And that's what it's about. But you do that. That's your front end. People go, man, I want to know more about what Hartley's got. Let me check out that link. That's where it leads in, guys. And that's what you're trying to do. And you don't have to sit down and write a book. A story is just a story. A story could be, guess what my wife said the other day.
Yeah. And that's another big point is stop the scroll, right? Like you were talking about, you're building the front end of your funnel, which is just engagement and likes and clicks and just basic information. The more you keep people on your Facebook, on your Instagram. Facebook and Instagram reward you. They're like, thank you for telling this 5-minute long story and making someone watch this video. You don't have to tell a 5-minute long story in video though. You can make it a lot of words and just separate them. Stop the scroll with a shocking picture or with a headline. My Instagram post yesterday said, you know what? I'm done saying please. I'm not saying please anymore. And then I went and told the story about how it's not that I'm having no manners. I will still say, please, can I have this? I'm not showing up in a please begging energy. So I told that story, but the stopping scroll of I'm done saying please got people to stop and read the rest of it. So focus on how can you tell that story? And if you can't tell a 25 minute long story on video, how can you write it? And how can you make people stop and want to read the rest of it with that opening statement? That will start to build that engagement that, again, Facebook, Instagram rewards you for people who want to hear or read what you have to say.
Does that make sense with everybody? I invited you on today just to talk a little bit about stories and connecting with your audience, different ways to do that. Guys, you can do this on your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, in your headlines, if you want to do longer videos in your ads, whatever it is. Be willing to share just a little bit. And some of you guys are going to say, well, I'm marketing this niche that I'm not directly involved in. So you need to stop and figure out what your connection is. How you can connect with that doctor, that dentist, that plumber, that HVAC, that whatever it is. There's some way that you can connect, right? There is. There absolutely is. So there's a way to do that. That's what you do with your stories. Find a way to make that happen. So, Tara, I appreciate you being on. Guys, any questions before we wrap up? If you've got one, drop it into chat or pop on. Michelle, are you holding a hand up? You got a question? Miss King, pop on.
Yeah, I do. So one thing I struggle with is like the time where I'm going to post these things. I know we're supposed to be setting like a daily schedule of time that we have for this. I struggle because I'm thinking, okay, is it okay to just start putting up random things? I mean, I have great ideas that I want to share about mindset. I might want to share, something else about a day. I'm a single parent, kind of struggling those, issues and everything that surrounds that. And I have some great things to share with other people, but I haven't been out doing it because I feel like, I got to have a game plan. I can't just share random things here and there. So I think I'm thinking of this wrong, and I just need to start throwing things out there.
You're overthinking it, Michelle. You're just overthinking it. Just start doing it. Start taking action. It'll be easier to create momentum and perfect it once you're moving than it is like you're not going to be perfect to begin with. Just get started and then start making your adjustments as you roll.
Right. Kind of like the first post to put on your business Instagram or your first post to put on something that's new like that. It's like I have to introduce myself.
Your first post, Michelle, is going to get buried. So it doesn't matter. Just post it.
Okay.
After a little while, it's going to be so far down, no one's going to see it. So just go.
And do a story.
You can start with stories for sure. I was just going to say, I tell my clients all the time, done is better than perfect. Stop holding yourself back, waiting for perfect, because who gets to grade it? You're out of school now. No one is going to come along and say, A+ job on this slide. Now you can go ahead and post it to your story. You have to start grading yourself and saying, this is good. This is what I want to share. This is authentic to me. This is going to connect with someone. And you just have to believe in it. Like you just said, mindset stuff. I'm a single mom too. There's times when it's like, listen, I have to angle a picture because behind me is a mountain of laundry that I haven't folded. I can say that without having to show it, right? Like, what you don't see in this picture would shock you. But here's what I want to share with you. And you are going to connect with people because it's real. People want real more than they want anything else in life right now, especially after this last year. They want to hear the reality.
Guys, think about it. You're going after small businesses. If your video is overproduced, if stuff is too perfect, then in a way, people are thinking, well, mine has to be like that in order to do what they're doing. So it creates almost a wall in between. I mean, you don't want it to be awful, but at the same time, and what I mean is like, if I'm going to post a video, I'm going to make sure that my audio is heard, right? But other than that, like just do it. Because after a couple of weeks, that first one that you were freaking out about is now so far down there, they're not looking at that. They're only going to see what they're seeing right now. Right? Now, occasionally you'll get someone that'll stalk. Once in a while, I get a click on something on Instagram that's, months and months and months back. And it's like, oh, someone was looking at everything. And that's okay. Whatever. Big deal. It just shows that you've had growth, and move on with it. Okay. Just do it. Quit overthinking. So, real quick. So Aisha had a question. Yes, there's a Facebook group. Get with the support inside your dashboard and you can connect. And well, here, let me wrap up the call and then I'll hit that question. So, Tara, my dear, as always, a pleasure having you on. Everyone give a round of applause for Tara Talking. If you want to connect with her, you can look up. Yeah, if you want to connect with her, look up Tara Talking on Instagram. And best way to kind of find her there, more fun there. She's always posting stories and you can see what her daily coffee is like. So always check her out there. Great stuff. Appreciate you having you being on as always. Guys, find a way today to tell your story somewhere on social media, right? If all you have is your own personal page at this moment, share something, anything about what's going on, anything, right? Do something on your social media platform. If you've already got your funnel and you're up and you're rolling, then make that story something about your niche. Can everybody do that? Yes. Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get a hands up?
Hallelujah.
All right, good. Everybody go out and do that, guys. Find a way, as always, rise up from those ashes. Fly like the phoenixes that you are. Have an amazing day. I'm going to stop recording. Got a couple of questions to answer, but guys, rock on.